The following thoughts on Hoppe Hour do not represent Cox Media Group or its sponsoring. Anything you hear may and will be used against you. Thank you. Voted as best local podcast in Tampa Bay by the Creative Loafing. You're listening to Hoppe Hour.
What up? What is happening? This is Hoppe Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe, and I am live at Side Splitters in Tampa Bay with the very funny comedian known as Kelsey Cook. How's it going?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
To help you with this?
Oh my God, he's gonna ruin everything.
The one and only Club Soda Kenny from the Opie and Jimmy Show is intruding on my interview. Hello.
It's not an intrusion.
Yeah, that's like an honor, man.
What's up, Kenny? What would you add?
No, like you just met her 2 seconds ago.
I know.
I was gonna help you.
All right, help me.
No.
No, you think you can do it on your own? Go ahead, do it.
So how did the first show go, opening up for someone as electric as Jim Norton?
It was great. They were a really great crowd. I've been opening for Jim for the last 6 months or so.
Yeah.
So he's the best.
He's good with adjectives. Did you hear electric?
I love it. I love electric. If I were to describe Jim in one word, I would say electric.
That's all you should be talking about is Jim.
Okay. Yeah, great.
What type of comedy do you do? Is it like observational or like what type of comedy is it?
Filthy.
It is mostly observational. I talk about being a pro foosball player.
Really?
Mm-hmm, because that's
cool.
what I do on the side with comedy. So, yeah.
How long have you been doing that?
Doing foosball? My whole life. My parents met playing professional foosball, so it's been in my life forever.
Was it one of those things where since they were good at it, you were just naturally good at playing it too?
I don't know if anybody's naturally good at foosball. It's a really weird sport, but they would stand me on a stool when I was really little,
Yeah.
so I was tall enough to see the top of the table, and they'd train me.
You think you ask good questions?
Kenny, you are a fucking nightmare. I'm kidding. Ask Kenny some questions,
Is she
Kenny.
kidding or isn't she?
I don't know. What do you want, Kenny? You're just intruding, acting like you're so cool because you're Club Soda Kenny.
I'm not acting.
You're one of a kind now. Like, I appreciate you getting me the interview, but I feel like you're entitled because you helped me get it. And you're like, now I have to intrude on and just hang out. Like, go get a drink or something.
I'm straight edge.
What does that mean?
Figure it out.
That you don't drink?
You can't dismiss Club Soda Kenny.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's his podcast.
People said we sound alike. A lot of comments on Twitter said that me and you sound like you're my dad or something.
What, when you were wearing the mask today?
Just in general.
Listen, it's not about me. You're interviewing Kelsey.
Well, then, if it's not about you, then see ya. Bye. Have a nice life.
Why don't you do one of your catchphrases like, you know what I mean, Jelly?
You heard that?
Yeah.
What'd you think of that catchphrase? Were you guys laughing in the car?
Ask Kelsey what she thinks of it.
Whenever the room goes dead and there's not a thing being said on a Mike Kelty show, I'll fill the time by saying, you know what I mean, Jelly Bean? It's one of my catchphrases.
Oh, okay.
Or I like to say getting turned up.
Okay.
Because I'm cool like that. You know what I mean? I'm trying to fit in with the cool kids.
Yeah, you're super white to say that, but...
I know. I've always been overcompensating my whole life.
You see how the vibe changes when I leave the room?
Yeah, it's better.
No.
What do you add, Kenny? Like, when you're in the room, what is it that is about you that's so special?
Well, I'll leave now, and then you'll see the difference.
Okay. So who are some of your influences for going into comedy? Like, are there...
Fonda?
Oh, God, what is wrong with you? Not Jimmy Fonda. Dane Cook was one of the first comics I saw, but
I just want you to know one thing. She asked me to do her podcast. I didn't do it, but I'm appearing on yours.
I should have you on just as a guest in general. That'd be legendary.
Him instead of me. You know
No,
how
go
many
ahead.
hits his fan page has? He has 12,000 likes on...
No, he knows it's 16,000. Everybody knows it. She just loves to hurt me.
How do you have so many fans, man?
Look at me.
You're ripped, dude. You're in pretty good shape for being old.
Painter.
He's a stallion.
What makes you so entertaining, Club Soda Kenny? What do you add?
Ask Kelsey.
What is it about him that makes him so unique?
Oh, he's a fucking bum. He's the worst. He's not...
Do you tour with him?
I do tour with him. I love Kenny very, very much.
He seems like the guy where you should be on his good side or he'll just be moody all day.
I forgot one thing. Is Eric Nagel, the sex bagel, going to hear this?
I'm actually going to be, yeah, he's one of my mentors. He's one of my friends.
Exactly. All right, so got to give a shout out to Eric Nagel, the sex bagel.
I have to give my shout out because he wants me to Eric Nagel, a.k.a. E-Rock, the Sex Bagel from the Opie and Jimmy Show. There you go, E-Rock.
Explain to Kelsey who the Sex.
He is the producer of the Opie and Jimmy Show, and he runs Opie Radio.
Okay.
And they call him Sex Bagel for some reason from the old show, like back in the day. So
Okay.
he wanted me to say that.
Got it. How long have you been doing your podcast?
I've been doing it since May. It won Best Local Podcast in Tampa.
Wow.
And you're my 59th guest. How honored are you?
I'm so honored. Thank you for having me.
So what are some towns that you do well in, and what are some where they just don't think you're funny at all?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Well, I'm lucky to do the shows with Jim because, in general, no matter where we are, his crowds are fucking awesome. I mean, he's had such a huge fan base for a long time. Obviously, there's certain... Like, I did comedy up in Washington State for a long time, and some of those towns are kind of smaller, and it's an older crowd, and sometimes I don't do great with, like, you know, the 60 and up crowd.
I kind of get the vibe that Jim Norton wouldn't really do well with the elderly crowd. It's just me, maybe.
Right. So, yeah, both Jim and I are definitely not, like, Disney Channel comedians. So, if it's, like, older crowd, I don't usually do that well, but... Jim's crowds are just amazing.
What do you think of people that hate on, like, vulgar comedy? To me, maybe it's just because I'm into it. I just don't think clean comedy's that fun because it's just, like, cookie cutter. It's not original. There's something about swearing that makes it funnier. I don't know why.
Oh, I gotcha. I mean, there's some amazing clean comics that I love. I mean, Brian Regan is one of my favorite comics ever. I definitely don't think you need to be dirty to be funny. It's just a personal style. It's whatever your comedy voice is. Sometimes if you're totally clean, the material is really, really smart. Yeah. And it's admirable. So.
Where do you want to see yourself in 5 years? Like, what is the dream thing for Kelsey? Like, where do you want to be in 2021?
It's a good question. I should do some, like, New Year's resolutions. 5 years. Well, in 5 years, I would hope to be headlining at that point, touring around, hopefully done some more TV spots. Yeah. Maybe have, like, an hour special, something like that.
Have you done TV spots yet?
Yeah, I've been on Laughs on Fox a couple times. I did something with Nickelodeon and little things here and there.
How hard is it to find TV gigs? Like, is there a lot of competition out there?
Oh, yeah. My boyfriend's also a comic, and we moved down to LA together a year ago because it's just better to be in that kind of, you have to go to LA or New York eventually, really. But it's so competitive. I mean, everybody down there is trying to make it.
What's it like when you have a boyfriend who is also a comic? Like, does it make you guys laugh all day, or do you find it, since you guys are both weird, because all comics are usually weird, does it make it a weird relationship? So, like, what's it like going out with a comic as well?
There's, pros and cons, but I think there's pros and cons to a situation with a comic with a non-comic. It's great because we both totally understand what the other person's job is. Yeah. And there's nothing better than to be able to call that person after a show and tell them about a heckler, tell them about something where they know exactly what that's like. Also, I travel a ton, and if I was with somebody who wasn't in comedy, maybe they wouldn't understand as much, but he totally gets it and is supportive. And yeah, I mean, we do generally make each other laugh a lot when we're not fucking sick of each other.
What are some times when you've had the worst hecklers? Like, do you deal with them, or do you just try to ignore them?
It kind of depends, because there's different breeds of heckler out there. There's some, like, there was a woman tonight in the front row who, at one point in my joke, she said something, but it wasn't malicious. It was like she was adding, like, she was basically just verbalizing what was going on in her head. Like, she was like, oh no, at, like, a part where I said something, like, sad about, like, a cat dying in a joke or something like that. She was like, oh no. And she's not trying to be rude or heckle. That's just, like, some people verbalize their stuff. So I'm not going to say anything to her. She's being sweet. She wasn't being disruptive. But I don't know if it's that I'm, like, a young girl and, like, knock on wood, but I haven't had, like, a malicious heckler before. My boyfriend's had some stories about, like, I mean, a couple times where, like, drunk guys will be assholes to other guys. But unless you're really, I don't know. I haven't gotten it.
Now, speaking about drunken guys, you're very attractive and you're very entertaining, so that would make for a perfect situation for dudes. How often do you get hit on where it's just like, dude, go away already?
I mean, pretty frequently after shows. We're in the comedy show setting where people are drinking, and I hang out afterward to sell my T-shirts and my air fresheners, and I'm happy to meet everybody, and I'm not like bitchy or cold. I'm warm and bubbly and stuff, but that can also, I think, maybe send the wrong signal sometimes. So especially if a guy's drunk, he's like, "Oh, she's fucking into it, man," and then they'll like linger around for a half hour, and somebody's gonna be like, "Okay, bro, you gotta go." So.
Are there any like famous comics that have ever like tried to hit on you, or is everyone pretty gracious and they respect you for what you do?
Oh, I think everybody's pretty gracious. I haven't had any situations where I have to like write somebody off like, "Oh, can't be around them anymore." Like everybody's been super sweet and cool.
Who are some comics that have helped mentor you? Like here in town, Mike Kelta has been one of my mentors. E-Rock is from the Opie and Jimmy show. Who are some comics that have mentored you and helped you along the way?
Well, Jim for sure. I'm so grateful to him. I had him on my podcast last year, and that's how I started to open for him on the road.
Yeah.
And he's the reason I was able to leave my day job, which is like, I think probably the first big dream that every comic has, is just to be able to not be somewhere that you hate during the day and then have to go, grind and do comedy shows at night. So that was like the greatest gift ever. And he's so incredible. He's been doing it for so long. Just to watch him perform every week, and it's like he has new material all the time. He's so polished, so funny. I've learned a ton from him, so he's a great mentor.
What are some of the worst day jobs that you've had to do where you're just like, Jesus Christ, I hate this?
Oh, shit. I was a receptionist for a long time. I was a receptionist at like a litigation consulting firm, which just makes you want to put a fucking shotgun in your mouth. Yeah, it's terrible, boring work. Especially it hurts your soul so much if coworkers come out. Like, I had a boss come out once to a show with coworkers, and the show went really well, and they were all so like proud and impressed. They're like, "Wow, it's so cool to see what you really do." And then the very next morning at 8 a.m., I'm at work, and the boss is like, "Can you fax these for me and then mail this?" And it's just like you immediately fall right back to the bottom of the totem pole, and you're like, "Oh, God damn it!" It's like it sucks to lose that. I don't want to say power, but just like, when you're on stage, you feel like you're doing what you really love, and then. Yeah.
Is that what maybe drove you to be successful, where you don't need a day job anymore? The fact that you go from being complimented by household name comedians and then you get up at 6 a.m. for your awful job. Is that what maybe motivated you to get the fuck out of there?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I've heard that before, that sometimes when people are in like a really kind of cushy day job or like a career situation, like I got my degree in broadcast production and I could have taken these really like cool jobs in video editing, but I was like, that's not what I really want to do. And that's the type of work where they expect that you're like the first person there, last person to leave. So I would take these jobs that were, like receptionist type of stuff where there's not that much expected of you. But also it's shit work. It sucks. It sucks to be answering phones and dealing with people that you hate all day. So I do think it did kind of keep that constant fire under me. Like, okay, I just got to keep working, and then hopefully at some point something breaks and I can leave this.
What was the show where you got your foot in the door where you didn't need the first job anymore? Like, is there one show that comes to your mind where you just absolutely killed in the room?
Well, like I said, when I had Jim on the podcast, that's how I met him.
Yeah.
And then from there, he had me start opening for him. So it wasn't like he saw me at a show first. He did my podcast first and thought I was funny on there, and we hit it off. But I mean, since working with Jim, like I said, his crowds are so great that, I mean, we've done these, we were at like Caroline's on Broadway last year, and Lovely Live, and Cobb's in San Francisco, and House of Blues in Texas. Like House of Blues, I was so crazy because I did go from, especially moving down to LA, you're just taking what you can. You're mostly trying to get up on open mics, and just to do those huge venues, it feels amazing.
Now, when you're in radio, you don't see the audience. So like when I was on Mike Kelta's show, it's like the top rated show in town. So you can just imagine all the cars are listening. But for like comics, you're in front of everybody who's laughing at your jokes. What is that like when you're in front of everyone, the lights are on you, and you are just doing great? Like, what's that moment like?
Oh, it's the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
It's like black tar heroin. I mean, like, I'm a pretty big square with drugs and shit, like I drink, but I would imagine it's that level of rush. I mean, I'm addicted and couldn't do anything else in my life.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing like that.
It's weird. I'm the same way too. Like when I do well in an interview or I'm on air, it's just you get this rush where you're in the moment, and once you're doing good, no one can get in your way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's how I feel about this interview.
Oh, you're so sweet.
It's one of those things, though, where, like, did people believe in you since day one? Because, like, when you say you want to go into radio or comedy, I feel like everyone rolls their eyes.
Sure.
They're like, good luck with that,
Right.
just being an accountant. Like, did people not always believe in you?
My parents, I mean, my mom was really supportive. My dad was a little unsure at first because I started college as a math major.
Oh, man.
I thought I was going to teach high school math, and so...
That sounds awful.
You know, oh, I know, right? But that's, like, a parent's kind of dream, is that their kid wants to take this, like, really, like, steady, stable job, and, like... He was proud of me for wanting to use my math brain, you know, and do something with that. So when you tell your parent that you're dropping all of your math classes and switching to this other field and pursuing comedy, of course it's like, you know, well, shit, because there's just no stability in that career. But then once he saw me perform, he started to come around and was like, oh, she's actually doing this, like, she's actually good, and she knows what she's doing, and it's going well. So I've been fairly lucky, I think, overall, as far as people being supportive. So.
Now, going back to your podcast, what's it called and what's the format? What's it about?
Yeah, okay, so my podcast is called Cooked, COOK''D, because my last name is Cook, and it's broken into 3 segments. The first one is where we like roast idiots in the news.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, like with like when Steve Harvey like fucked up at the Miss Universe thing.
I think that was PR. I think that was planned out.
Think?
I think he is like a wacky morning show DJ. Right. I believe that he did that because he wanted attention. I believe he knew what he was doing. Because did you see that card? It said first and second place. It wasn't like he was reading rocket science, Kelsey. Right. It clearly said, like, you have to be a moron. I had to get that in there.
It's totally possible. Like, weirder shit has happened. Like,
because who cares about Miss Universe until that happened? Right. Trump left. There was no momentum going in.
That is a good point. And then he just got signed on to host it for another 3 years, like this like multi-million deal.
What a surprise. Wow, what a coincidence.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. So the first segment is roasting idiots, and I have the guests share the story of the dumbest thing they've ever done.
That's awesome.
The middle segment is about food, because I love good food and going out to eat, so I have them share their 3 favorite restaurants in the area they live in. And then the last segment, which is my personal favorite, I have them share any weird sex fetishes they have, like weird turn-ons and turn-offs, and I have them share their most embarrassing sex story.
That sounds like a show just for Jim Norton. Like, I feel like he killed it just because we know he's a freak when it comes to sex. Right. He loves his food, and he's an idiot. So I feel like that's perfect to have Jim Norton on.
Yeah, he killed it. He was so great. So I had him on last year. I had Bob Saget on last year, which was super fun. I've had the podcast now for like 3 years. So go subscribe to it on iTunes. Check it out. I've got a new episode up every Thursday.
And where can people see your work? Like, will you be on tour with Jim Norton?
Yeah, I will be. So his Mouthful of Shame tour starts in February, and I'll be opening for him on most of the dates. And so if you go to kelseycook.com, KELSEYCOOK.com, my show calendar's there. I'll be with Jim a bunch, so that's good.
I'll be sure to plug your work online, add Ryan Hoppe Radio, and send out a tweet and have this up by Monday once I edit it down. This was the most random interview. I was grabbing a beer at the bar watching basketball, and he's like, do you want to interview Kelsey Cook? I'm like, why not? So, and I dug your vibe because I'm very honest, and I would just say you're okay if I thought you're okay at comedy, but I see big things happening. I predict in 5 years, you'll be the next Amy Schumer.
Oh my God, that's so sweet of you. Thank you so much.
All right, keep up the good work, and thank you for being on Hoppe Hour.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hoppe Hour. Hoppe Hour.